You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast.
You're listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. My name is Shawn Wilkie, and along with my somewhat awesome co-host, we interview the innovators in this space every week. Ivan, why don't you kick us off?
Hi, I'm Zach, and I'm happy to introduce Andrew Heller. We're going to talk about combating burnout through relief work opportunities. So, on the business side, Andrew is a Chief Growth Officer at Independent Vets. He holds a degree of Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine. On the personal side of things, he founded a construction company early in his career, which is a great prerequisite to vet school. Has two sons and a dog named Dagny. And from what we heard from the rumors, there's another baby on the way. And I think it's a baby girl. And also, as a good luck charm, the local NFL team, whenever he lives, has won Super Bowl. And it actually happens 8 times in his lifetime, which is pretty crazy. Welcome to the show, Andrew. I'm super excited about this topic. I need to give a shout out because I just deployed my burnout study.
Okay.
So if anybody is listening, please answer the survey, which I need for my MBA dissertation.
And please like and share it on all of the social links, because that'll help you a lot, Ivan.
I can't wait to fill it out myself.
Thanks, Andrew. So welcome. Tell us about the Independent Vets, what it is, and how did you become a growth officer in this organization?
Oh, wow. Okay. So you want the whole history. So Independent Vets is a flexible staffing solution for hospitals, right? That's why we started the business. We realized there was a need on the hospital side for more veterinarians. I think everybody is well aware at this point that there seems to be a shortage. And, our CEO especially was hearing day in and day out for the need for more veterinarians. When I met him, the idea for Independent Vets was just sort of in its fledgling stage. And, he said to me that he needed to come up with a way to help these hospitals. And I said, well, you're thinking about it from the hospital side, but as a veterinarian, I think about it from my point of view. Is this something that we could help with on the vet side? Can we make this attractive to vets? And, so I realized that, we're trying to put together a group of doctors, but we had to make it more attractive than just being a regular associate at one job. And we had to make it more attractive than going off and doing relief work on your own. We sort of had to tie the pros of both ends and bring them together. And, I've been saying for a long time, we sort of take the best parts of being an associate and best parts of being a relief vet and bring them together without the negatives of either. And so, we formed the company back at the end of 2017. And, I guess my official title is Chief Growth Officer, but I did begin as Chief Medical Officer and what I like to say is Indie Vet number 1. So I did the very first shift myself at our very first partner hospital, which was a great experience for me. It was actually the very first time I had ever done relief. And I know, believe it or not. So, I realized from doing this that I could never go back to being an associate. The freedom and flexibility you get from, picking and choosing where you work, when you work, and not being part of the management system of that hospital is very liberating. And I think that sort of goes along with the name of the business, which is Independent Vets, right? We're free to choose, free from some sort of the constraints that a lot of the hospitals put on doctors.
I have a lot of questions. So my career as a veterinarian started as an emergency vet, and basically I picked up relief work. I think in the first 3 months I started doing that, and I can only echo you and just super advertise being a locum or relief vet because all what you said, the flexibility of the schedule that you can choose, the if you don't like the hospital, you leave next day and never come back.
Right.
So that's another. You can earn as much or as little as you want based on what they're paying, and you can find hospitals that pay more if you want, and if you can, you can totally balance it out. There are certain fears that are associated with that as a new grad that you don't know how to run your books. So you need to incorporate a company to be self-employed. You need to do all then the bookkeeping at the end. You need to remember that you need to save all the taxes to pay at the end, which also has been done as a mistake by me. So all of those things are super cool, and I hope that your first shift is going to pay a lot at the end of wherever this takes you. But I'm going to throw a little curveball here. Instead of balancing my work and understanding how much do I want to work, I did emergency shift 4 in a row, and then I had 6 days off, and then I would load it with 6 more relief days because I became greedy and I could make so much money, and I burned just like that. So a bit of a curveball, but a question, do you have any advice for people how to balance their sort of work life? I think that these days vets do it maybe better. And the second question, out of all those things, is sort of, picking the shifts that you want, and what are the sort of amplified features of your offering to kind of sort out all those things, how to, maybe there's help to incorporate or any sort of support?
So I think you hit on something that was very interesting, which was setting boundaries for yourself. It sounds like when you were an ER doctor, you didn't really set any boundaries. You were like, okay, I'm going to work what they want me to do, and then I'm going to do extra, and I'm going to say yes to everything that comes my way if I have the time. And that's actually one thing that is in common with being a relief vet and being an associate. You really don't have any boundaries. When you're an associate too, your boss asks you to work the days that they need you to. You don't get to take vacation when you want to. You get to take vacation when the hospital allows it. And when somebody else is away, you're working double time while they're away. There's really, and if you don't do that, you're considered not a team player. You're not, you're selfish or whatever it is. And so I think being an indie vet, you get to set boundaries for yourself. You get to say, I choose when I work. Nobody's going to bother me to work more if I don't want to work more. If I want to work 4 days a week, that's what I'm going to do. If I don't want to work weekends, I'm not going to. If I don't want to work the day after Thanksgiving, hey, I don't need to. Nobody's telling me I have to come back from my vacation. So I think we provide the boundaries. We say, you set them, we stick to them. So in that regard, I think we help with the work-life balance a lot. One thing we didn't really talk about was the fact that we consider ourselves a team. And I think that's what makes us unique out there. We're not a relief platform, right? People don't join us to come on as a 1099 contractor. We actually pay our doctors as W-2'd associates. We pay them as employees of the company. But we realize that, the ideal work schedule is different for every single person. For some people, it's 25 hours a week on average. For some, it's 34. For some, it's 50. And everybody can pick and choose what they want to do. And, we're very transparent. They get certain benefits at different tiers. Our full-time doctors, they only have to do an average of 34 hours a week with us to be considered full-time and get a 401k and CE allowance and paid time off and health insurance and yada, yada, all the things that you would get from like a corporate group, right? So, there's the stability aspect of things that I think is extremely unique. We're run by veterinarians. We are very boutique. We're very high touch with our doctors. We're in touch with them every single day. We also want to know everything about our doctors. We're not just an open platform. There's an actual vetting process. So we start with a phone screen just to make sure we're on the same page, right? If we think that person is right, potentially we interview them. We have a second interview with our CEO. We do clinical assessments. We do personality assessments. We do third-party background checks, drug screens. We do all this to make sure that the people we're bringing onto our team, are accountable to each other, that we're bringing the right people to add to the team. We don't want to bring anybody onto the team that may be a detriment to the business and to the reputation that we've built out there in the industry. So I think, our 400 plus hospital partners, if you ask them about our reputation, I think you'll get a lot of really great reviews. And yeah, we could talk more about that later.
What I'm curious to know, and I've met your CEO and I think the chief medical officer from IndieVets, and that's how we ended up on here. And it was really interesting. I'm starting to remember why I thought it was so innovative, your approach, which is these people work for you. It's not a platform. You guys are a business that provides services to veterinary hospitals, which I think is really unique and interesting. But I also believe that you're in a pretty specific geographic operating region, right? What areas are you right now?
So we're in the Northeast. Essentially, right now, we just expanded. We announced an expansion down to the Central Florida region, so Tampa, Orlando, as well as the Atlanta metro region.
Cool. And that's exactly where I wanted to go next, which is, okay, Andrew, you're the Chief Growth Officer. How the hell do you grow this type of business sustainably across those different geographic regions? What's it look like and how's it going?
It's a great question. And it's definitely a question that we've been trying to answer for some time now. How do we control the growth in a way that we stick to our core values, that we continue to hire the best doctors? And I think that's really it. We start with the doctors. We start by hiring the best doctors in areas where we want to be. And then we build around our team. So right now we're trying to build a new team in, Tampa Bay, for instance, right, the Tampa region. And so once we have a few doctors in the process, in the pipeline, so to speak, we're going to begin doing business development. Not that we haven't really set the groundwork for that, but that part always follows the doctors. So we don't go to a region and say, okay, we're open for business before having doctors and say which hospitals need us. Okay, we'll find doctors to help you. That's not how it is. We look first for the team, second for the business. And we've positioned ourselves that way since the beginning. Once we started going and realized that it was our doctors that are the central aspect of our business. I mean, we really are an HR company. We're in the business of giving a positive work-life experience for doctors and making sure that they're not burned out and that they're happy and healthy and that kind of thing. It's a big focus for us. So again, it starts with the doctor, and that's how we grow. And we're not I get inquiries from doctors all over the country saying they want to come work with us. And I say, I'm sorry, we're not there yet. We want to devote our focus to the doctors in the regions that we're in. And we're not just trying to blow it up all over the country and, expand too quickly. We're very high touch.
Excellent. And so the business model is that you're hiring the vets and basically they're for hire, and then the revenue, I guess there's a margin on the hospital that you engage with. Is there a continuous relationship, or there is a sort of a platform where the hospital can dip in? So your vets are the cohort, and you have them, their information and everything, and then the hospitals can access the database, or what does it look like as experience for the hospital?
The hospitals don't get to choose which doctors come. They can request, but they don't get to choose. We actually are also a technology company, so I should at least say that once. I mean, we've spent a lot of time and effort and money on building out our efficiencies, which involve a lot of technology. So we have something that we call internally IndyVet's Core, which is our central hub of where the hospitals can put information about the shifts that they need us to fill. And then on the other end, we have something that we are finalizing now called IndyVet's Portal, which allows our doctors to tap into that database and find the shifts that they want. All the information will sit there on the hospital as well as the doctor. But again, the hospitals put their shifts up and our doctors fill their schedule based on where they want to be at, which hospitals, which days, which shifts match up with their ideal.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we encourage our doctors to spread the love, right? And go to as many practices as they can help. But certainly we don't, it's the choice is ultimately theirs. If it's just 4 or 5 hospitals that they love to go to, they're free to just continue to take those shifts. If there are, 10 or 12 hospitals that they like to mix it up to, great. It's different for every doctor. And I think the beauty of it is that it is their choice.
Great. Andrew, one of the things that I thought was really interesting is you had mentioned your core values as a big kind of key part of your organization. So could you share those core values with our listeners? I think it would be really interesting, particularly if I was a vet that was considering relief work in the geos that you work, to know your core values. So here's an opportunity to get some more vets to give you guys a call. What are your core values, sir?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, these are things that I talk about all the time. And we actually have 5 core values. The first one sort of encompasses who we are as doctors, and that is highly competent and nice. What this means to me is, we hire great doctors, confident, easy to get along with, can fit right into any practice's culture, and really, hit the ground running and get along with people, and will be an asset to that practice that day. Our second core value is this idea of genuine gratitude. I think as leaders in the company, we are certainly grateful to the hospitals that partner with us. We're grateful to our doctors for giving us such a great reputation in the industry. And, we certainly feel that gratitude back from our doctors as well. So it's a really great core value to have in mind at all times. Our third core value is choosing our own adventures. And this is really, really important to us because I think the word in there, choice, choosing, is really integral in how we function. And our doctors really do get the ultimate choice of where they work, when they work, how much they work. But even more importantly, what they do at that time outside of work, and having those adventures is something that we encourage. Another core example would be leading by example. And this sort of goes along with the highly competent part and nice, but the idea is, it's a little bit lofty, but this idea that we're going into practices, we're writing excellent medical records every single time we're there. We're teaching the staff there how we do things. And we're obviously only practicing standard of care. And I think that example goes a long way in hopefully improving the industry as a whole, sort of elevating things. And our last core value is really sort of what makes us like this, why we're on this podcast. It's happily breaking norms. We are clearly a niche business. We're filling a gap in the industry that really nobody had filled before. And I don't just mean for hospitals, but I also mean for doctors. We're providing a new career path, and certainly not the norm.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Shawn, I can't not do this to you. What are your core values at Talkative?
Oh, great. Wonderful. Now I have to engage the memory. So honesty, collaborative, my favorite, no assholes, ability to adapt and adjust, good humor, hardworking, and reliable. How about you? What are yours, Ivan?
One of the most valuables is sense of humor. I can't work with people that can't laugh about themselves. Integrity is super important, but it's kind of a given. Solution oriented, we focus on the solutions rather than the problems in our company. I think systematically we have a pretty complex solution that we're building. So seeing the big picture is important, but also with that simplified process. So with the very complex processes in our organization and the systems that we're building, we need to be able to explain them with what I call a grandmother rule. You should be able to explain it so my 94-year-old grandmother would understand it. We also have continuous improvement. We encourage continuous learning. And we also have, as I usually call aspirational in our company, is emotional intelligence, because as veterinarians it's actually, I think, statistically the lowest EQ out of quite a few industries. So those are the core values.
Cool. So it's really interesting and a strange direction for our podcast to go, but really neat to know that the three of us that are all in different businesses, but all touching the veterinary industry, are all on this business operating system called Traction. It's really interesting. And it's almost like I kind of want to ask that question now when we interview people. Are you on the Traction operating system? So we'll put a link in the show notes. So if anybody's interested, anybody that's running a company, to understand how we run our companies, you can check out this system, which is pretty great. I think we all really like it.
Absolutely.
Andrew, I think that we're running out of time here. I would like to ask, what TED Talk, video, book, or movie that you've recently seen that you would recommend to other listeners of the podcast?
Well, I got hooked on Tim Ferriss. I don't know if you guys know Tim Ferriss. I started reading his books like when he came out with the 4-Hour Work Week and the 4-Hour Chef and the 4-Hour Body. And then he kind of culminated it into Tools of Titans. And I found that book really, really insightful and sort of inspiring to me as an entrepreneur in this space and just in general. He definitely got me to be more mindful and, sometimes doing journaling and things like that can really highlight that gratitude we were talking about. So definitely a life-changing book for me.
Awesome. Yeah. And then the last one is who else in the space do you think we must have on the podcast to chat?
Yeah, I was looking through your list of people you've talked to, and I didn't see that you guys had connected with Harbor. I don't know if you know Harbor, Courtney Post over at Harbor. They're basically kind of like LinkedIn for vets, plus like a little aspect of Vin in there. So it's a new community. It's very new, and I highly recommend you guys talk to them.
Thank you so much for listening to the Veterinary Innovation Podcast. If you want to hear about our new episodes, please follow us on any social media channel. Also, you can check out our website at veterinaryinnovationpodcast.com. See you next week.